What's going on, everybody? Main Event Madness, year-end edition, New Year's edition. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody out there. 2015 is officially in the books tomorrow. Hope you guys had a great Christmas, great holiday, guys. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us once again, as you guys do every week. We really appreciate you guys being here each and every week for us. Without you guys, there is no show. You know, my English teachers are going to be hating me for that one. And I got my usual crew with me, my two co-hosts, Eron Ramadanov, Marc Madison. Gentlemen, Happy New Year's to both you guys. Hope you guys are excited for 2016.
It's going to be a great year. Hopefully better than 2015.
Both personally, professionally, and when it comes to wrestling, lots of different options out there. Still recovering from Christmas dinner. Boy, that turducken was great.
We got a lot of stuff to get through in the next 45 minutes or so, guys. And you know, I said this at the top of the show, but honestly, and I'm going to get a little bit redundant here, but when Wayne approached me a little over 2 years ago saying he wanted the wrestling show back on his website, I thought whatever, because the longest I had done a show at that point was maybe 4 months. For one reason or another, it never worked, and whatever. Sure, I'll do it. And then year one was in the books, and at a lot of points I could have walked away this year. There are a lot of trying times, but I said this to you guys last week. I honestly thank you to both of you for coming and help me steer the ship into calmer waters. I'm excited for 2016. You guys stepping in and helping me out and hanging out with me and doing this thing we call Main Event Madness every week. It means more to me than you guys know, and I hope one day we can get enough success in this that it'll reap benefits to you guys too, and one day somehow make it up to you guys for the time you guys are spending helping me out with this. I do appreciate it, guys, so a thank you to you guys.
No problem. Like I said, I think it's a lot more about fun and having a good time, and that's what I'm here for. I mean, it'd be great to make some money off this. It'd be great, right? I mean, but in the long run, I'm just happy to be a part of this and have a good time.
Same here. I mean, it's a lot of fun just being able to go out there and just talk about what it is that you guys love and whatever it is that you don't like when it comes to wrestling. I think that's what makes being a wrestling fan no different than anybody else. And that's exactly what we're happy about with Main Event Madness. It's just the freedom to be able to say what you feel. And if you like it or you don't like it, there's no harm. No one's hurt about it. There's tomorrow, and hopefully things get better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, guys, before we get into this, I'm going to throw a little time to you guys. Give you guys like 30 seconds each. I know that's, the world's largest amount of time. But, what's your guys' favorite moment? Marc, I'll go to you first. What was, looking back at 2015, in the world of professional wrestling, what was your favorite moment of 2015?
Are we talking like a match?
Anything.
Gosh, there were some things that stood out. I will say, and it's not even WWE related, which, for those that aren't watching, I really jumped on the Ring of Honor bandwagon the last year or so. I really enjoyed what it was, the year that they have. And for me, seeing Jay Lethal beat Jay Briscoe to capture not only the television title, but which he held at that point, I want to say it was about 14 months at that point, then to capture the Ring of Honor World title was pretty amazing because he didn't surrender either. And I still think to this point of this year, because of the kind of year Jay Lethal had, that was the one moment for me. So it wasn't even WWE related. If anybody had seen that match, it was great. His family was there. The Briscoe family was there. It was tremendous because it stood out, and it really got that crowd of 1,000 that was in attendance on their feet. Because win or lose, it didn't matter. They put on a hell of a show. But that particular match, that particular moment, that's maybe what stood out for me.
Yeah, I mean, so many great moments this year. When you look back, I mean, of course, Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania 31, amazing moment. Probably, Joel, you guys, I think John, you and Joel can attest how great of a moment that was. I think, when you look at the year of 2015 on a WWE platform, I mean, of course, it's been stricken with injuries, but there have been good moments. Of course, Roman winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, in my opinion, on Raw was a great moment. I thought the DX and NWO thing at WrestleMania 31 was a nostalgia-filled moment, which I will remember for a long time. I thought the Rumble this year, even though it had its down spots and its dark spots, I thought Lesnar and Rollins and Cena putting on a great match at the Rumble was great. Nakamura and Ibushi from Wrestle Kingdom 9, fantastic. That entire show is probably my favorite show of the year, from top to bottom as far as wrestling is concerned. And like you said, Mark, with Ring of Honor, Jay Lethal putting on a great year in the independent circuit. And just a great, people could say whatever they want, but I think this year has been a really good year for wrestling. I think WWE is making some strides into moving toward focusing on the younger talent and really enhancing guys like Roman and Seth Rollins, even though he got hurt. And I think the indie scene is as hot as it's ever been with the Ring of Honor, New Japan. Hopefully TNA can turn their sinking ship around. And just a bunch of great promotions doing a great job. So 2015 overall, I felt like was a good year for pro wrestling.
Oh, sorry, John. Before you get in there, sorry, Eron. One thing I did want to mention when it came to TNA, the Ethan Carter Rockstar Spud feud. Anybody that's probably seen that really elevated both of them. Incredible that Ethan Carter III was part of the WWE's developmental, and then he's completely parlayed and was just talent that should have been bigger than he was. And then to see what happened in TNA, they were probably amongst the highest points. Having them and probably the Wolves come out of TNA as real high spots for them.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people are when we talk about Superstar of the Year or Wrestler of the Year, I think a lot of people are overlooking Ethan Carter III as he has almost single-handedly carried that company this year as their world champion, and I think a lot of people need to maybe recognize that he's definitely in contention for Wrestler of the Year, or even maybe breakout Superstar of the Year, definitely in the contention for that as well.
Absolutely. And for me, I gotta say the whole experience of going to WrestleMania this year was my favorite moment. Going for the first time to WrestleMania, the Hall of Fame access, my first Raw in at the time 2 years. So all of that, I won't forget the first thing I noticed when we got to Levi Stadium was the ocean of people waiting in line to go in there. Just ridiculous. And like you mentioned, Seth Rollins cashing in, the DX NWO thing, which caught all of us off guard. But we kind of thought maybe once the NWO came out, the DX might.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the other way around?
DX came out first, then the NWO.
But either way, once one came out, kind of hoped the other one would, and then you hear the NWO's music hit, and it was just the whole experience was awesome. And I don't know if I'll ever, unless I go to WrestleMania again, I don't know as a wrestling fan if you ever suffer such depression like you do the day after Raw that weekend. Mm-hmm. Like we were there a day. We were there. We were there Wednesday to Wednesday, and that Tuesday, such depression that it was all over, and we were still there for another day. Which is kind of a selfish way to look at it. It's like, damn, we're still on vacation. We're still in California. Still 3,000 miles away from New York, where it's 20 degrees out. But it's over.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, guys, year in review, New Year's edition of the show, and we got our Main Event Madness first Year End Awards. And without further ado, let's jump right into it with. We'll go with the Finisher of the Year award. Now, this was a very vague way of wording this, and I am open to any and all constructive criticism, complete criticism, feedback, opinions, anything to make this improved for next year. So I'm opening the floor to you guys to give me some feedback either now, after the show. It doesn't matter.
I went with Spear, the Spear by Roman Reigns. I think this was, like you said, this was kind of a vague topic, and it was a little unclear on exactly what I was going to go with. But I feel like they've been building that spear to be something devastating for Roman, and I think it's kind of worked for him. I also was considering the curb stomp because that was a move so devastating apparently that they outlawed it for Seth Rollins to even use, and it won him the WWE Championship. So I was considering both of those moves, but yeah, I mean either the curb stomp or the spear would be my finisher of the year.
And after tallying, sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off if you were about to say anything, but after tallying, we had results come in from almost a dozen people from the Main Event Madness family, if you will, or friends and colleagues.
La Familia.
La Familia. But the overall result of Finisher of the Year goes to, from TLC 2015, Selena Del Sol onto the ladder for Kalisto. So
I wish I voted for that.
Wow.
There was a couple of these were close, and as we get into a few more of these, you guys will see there are some ties. But I kind of agree but disagree with this. I mean, it was definitely the biggest spot of the year as far as finishers go.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we're going in terms of the impact, no pun intended, of the finish in going forward in the broad scheme of things. I definitely agree with the curb stomp and the spear, and even the resurgence almost of the tombstone pile driver. Having a little bit more significance this year.
Or the pedigree.
Yeah. The pedigree returning to fame, if you will. After
even no offense to Seth, but he doesn't do it very well, but he's getting better. Oh, he was getting better until he got hurt.
He doesn't do it as well as the guy's shirt that I'm wearing right now. Wearing it for you, Eron.
Nice.
Actually wore one Triple H shirt yesterday and one today. But what were you going to say, Mark?
Is there any reason why Dirty Deeds and the way it was done was changed?
Maybe concussions. It was kind of
a headlock, where it was kind of like a headlock driver. I guess it was different, right? It was different how he did it. Then it became something similar to what Mick Foley would do with the double underhook, right? I just don't know why they changed that. It seemed like the snap on it before kind of looked different, and that's what made it, play up to the camera. Then he gets to show any expressions where he gets to turn his back in order to grab. I don't know. I just thought they could have kept it, but I don't know why they had changed it.
I mean, if I'm looking at if I'm trying to get into the mind of WWE and understand why they would change it, I mean, maybe they believe that the double underhook is maybe a more classic move, and maybe it. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's more impactful. That they believe it's more impactful. That it's kind of a swinging double underhook. I'm not sure. I agree with you. I liked it. I like the other version of Dirty Deeds a little better, but I think he needs a new finishing move. I mean, I'm not a big fan of either or. I don't know.
Are you guys ready? Oh, go ahead.
Flat out DDT that doesn't, like, kind of in a Jake Roberts type vein that you know that you don't get up from it, whereas everybody seems to get up from a DDT. It's just his would have to be built up like what they did with Reigns and the Spear, is that whatever that finish is should really wipe you out.
Yeah.
Agreed. Shall we move on to the next award?
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
This one was... Oops. Alright, wait a minute, hold on. And this one was... Okay, there we go. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself talk for a second. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yep, you're fine.
Alright, this one was an overwhelming opinion, and honorable mention does go to Mauro Ranallo, soon to be for SmackDown, and formerly, he was New Japan, right?
New Japan did a lot of boxing for Showtime as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he gets honorable mention, but I think this one's going without saying who wins Commentator of the Year. And that would be Corey Graves of NXT. I don't think, as far as WWE goes, I don't think there was much competition. What do you think, Eron?
This is going to be unpopular, but I don't really think Corey Graves is much of a commentator yet. I think he's a little overrated as far as a commentator is concerned. I understand that, like I said, I'm not going to give him too much criticism because he's still fairly new to this entire thing, and he's trying to find what suits him as a commentator. But I don't think he's very good. I mean, he's okay for how long he's been doing it, but I think my pick was Kevin Kelly. I think Kevin Kelly is a great commentator, great play-by-play guy, probably the best play-by-play guy you got right now in pro wrestling. No offense to Michael Cole, he's just not. I think Michael Cole is a good commentator. I think he's just produced in a bad light. I think Vince and Kevin Dunn and the way they make him talk, he's turned into a caricature of himself. I mean, if you go back and listen to his stuff on SmackDown, and you know, when he was just getting started, he was great. I mean, he was fantastic. But now he's kind of become a shell of himself because of how overproduced he is. But I think if you're going to give a Commentator of the Year award to someone, I think Kevin Kelly or King Carino, either or, are great. Both great in ROH right now.
What are your thoughts, Marc?
When I voted, I kind of cheated. I think John could probably tell me. Say that. When I voted, I did vote for Corey Graves. I think more for, I guess, being out there, his exposure, and potentially what he could be. But it was really a difficult one. I was also in the King Carino, Steve Carino, Mr. Wrestling 3, whomever you want to call him right now, because of his unscripted nature and how he comes across. And not just him, but I think Matt Stryker, for the year he had with Lucha Underground. I mean, there is really good commentating out there. It's not always evident when the bad is just so out there. I haven't heard Josh Matthews since he's gone over to TNA as much alongside the Pope. But I'm wondering, how is he coming across? How's his commentary been?
He's okay. I mean, he's a little better than he was in WWE. I think he's allowed a little more freedom in TNA to kind of say what he wants to say, but he's still not very good, unfortunately. I think the Pope is atrocious. I mean, he's so hard to listen to.
God-awful.
Yeah, he's as bad as Booker T. I mean, Booker T, I can't stand on commentary when he was doing it, and Pope is just on that level of just kind of over-pronunciating and overselling everything and just being a little too loud and
a little too cartoony with his reactions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But TNA's missing Taz right now, but Taz isn't missing TNA.
No.
But next one up is... I don't have the sound effect for one of these guys, but it is a tie for Return of the Year. Actually, I don't have the sound effects for either of them. I kind of forgot about them. But Return of the Year is a tie to both the Dudley Boys and the Undertaker.
Interesting.
It was equal amount of votes for the two between the Dudleys and the Undertaker, with WWE also receiving honorable mention was Del Rio. So
Yeah, I voted for the Dudleys. I thought that was I think that was one of the only returns that was shocking. I remember not hearing anything about that previous, and the New Day were just celebrating, and all of a sudden you see fireworks strike the ramp, and they're the Dudleys. So I picked that one just on pure shock value alone. Their return since has been a little lackluster. They were kind of, I don't know if you want to say fed to the New Day, but they had kind of an underwhelming feud with the New Day, and they're definitely being fed to the Wyatt family right now. So. But as far as like shock value and kind of coming out of nowhere, I went with the Dudley boys.
I had gone with Del Rio, but the day that I think John and I both had found out, because we had picks as to who we had done a pre-show for Hell in a Cell, and Wayne, who was on the show, broke the news to us that it was going to be Del Rio that shows up, and lo and behold, I'm like, son of a nutcracker. The guy was right. It was Del Rio that showed up. So from where things were at, to see him back was my pick because I hadn't seen it coming. But to hear it and then actually see it come was nice.
yeah, 'cause we got a lot of those kind of returns hype throughout the year, and to actually see one come true that was rumored is rare.
Yeah, because no sooner than maybe an hour after our pre-show had ended, did he show up?
Yep.
We're like, what the? Yeah.
Holy Yule log.
So what was your pick?
For me, I said the Dudleys. You know, as far as the impact, you know, even though they've kind of jobbed since they've been back, the creative teams kind of sided with pushing the New Day instead. But I think their return added such a depth and dimension to that tag division that it's sorely needed, and it adds some name value and some credibility to the WWE roster that they needed. You know, especially now with how many guys are out.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? It could, especially if they get a run with the tag belts, it could bring back some older fans that were Dudley Boys, fans 10, 15 years ago.
Yep.
So, both in the present tense and possible future tense, I picked the Dudleys. Mm-hmm. And next up for me, well, not for me, for us is the shocking moment of the year. Now, mind you, Wayne came up with these, so sorry if they're very Slammy Award-esque names. I had Wayne come up with the ballot. More so for him to be here reading it because he didn't give me his ballot. That was the plan, that he was going to be the one going off script.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, nothing goes to plan here at Main Event Madness, as you guys have learned and will learn.
Mm-hmm.
But
I went with Seth Rollins cash again. I think that was, for me, easily the most shocking moment of the year. Him losing earlier the night kind of maybe foreshadowed it a little bit, but at the moment I wasn't thinking about that, and it kind of came as a true shock to me when his music hit and he ran down to the ring. And if you go back and watch the clip, you can see Mr. Joel O'Brien losing his absolute mind in the right hand corner when Rollins is running to the ring. So that was probably my favorite moment or most shocking moment for me of the year.
I think when I voted, I don't know why, I kind of cast the same thing with Del Rio showing up. I think I've been stuck on that particular moment, but it's kind of hard to argue Rollins showing up as well. That's a decision to have him come out there last second really changed complexity of that match, and it took any heat that was being built for anything that Roman Reigns is doing, because I'm not sure how it was in person, guys, but from the way it sounded, very impartial to one particular person in Brock Lesnar. So to have Rollins come out really kind of took away from that. It's probably what the match needed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, the group of us where we were sitting, as the match went on, me loving the heels, I'm like, man, I kind of hope that Seth cashes in. And Matt kept telling me, no, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And to coincide with the shocking moment of the year, this hits, and literally, I don't know how loud it came across on TV, literally the 77,000 of us, or whatever amount were there, lost our ever-loving minds.
Yeah.
Because we realized then we were a part of even more history because it was the first time it had ever happened at Mania.
Yep.
Let alone in a match already going on.
Yeah.
So, yes, the main event Madness Shocking Moment of the Year award goes to Seth Rollins, cashing in at WrestleMania 31. Keep the last little phrase there in mind, because pay-per-view of the year, kind of going hand in hand with this. Definitely getting honorable mention was Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a 5-4 vote, and I had one vote. No, it was 5-4 and one vote for Ring of Honor, if my memory serves right.
Wow.
So the pay-per-view of the year goes to, and I was very biased when I made my pick. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was 5-4 to 1-1, not counting myself.
What was 4? What was that, Wrestle Kingdom? Or?
Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah. I went with Wrestle Kingdom. I said earlier in the show that it was probably the best top-to-bottom wrestling show I've ever seen. And, when you look at the entire card, you go to, Tanahashi and Okada having a great main event, and Tanahashi winning the IWGP Heavyweight title and kind of almost shaming Okada as he walked away. I thought that was a great moment. And for me, Okada, my apologies, Nakamura and Ibushi for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship was probably the match of the night for me. Even if you go down the card and you had some classic matches, you had the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, you had Maccabi and Ishii fighting for the Never Openweight title, which was one of the most hard-hitting matches I've ever seen. For me, I just enjoyed that pay-per-view so much, so that's why I picked. I mean, WrestleMania 31 was definitely up there for me as well as maybe 1A behind Wrestle Kingdom 9, but ultimately I went with New Japan's biggest event of the year.
Any thoughts, Marc?
I had gone with WrestleMania. I think just the Rollins factor and how that came about. It's never, WrestleMania doesn't always seem to be the event that it should be, and it's highlighted because it was really, I guess, a Super Bowl of any of their events, right? So the fact that I found that this year in particular, between the returns in the ring of Orton and having, I guess, the Andre the Giant Invitational and those sorts of things, I guess it just caught up with us, and that's what kind of stuck out. It's really hard to dispute Wrestle Kingdom, I guess, and how New Japan has become more and more prominent and where they are. It's really hard to argue with Eron selection, because that was a great choice too. So I did enjoy 13th anniversary. I might have mentioned that last week too. I thought it was a really well put together show on behalf of Ring of Honor. So, but yeah, WrestleMania was kind of the one that I went with this particular year. Don't know about next year though.
Yeah, well, next year is going to be people hoping it's going to be the case of what this year was. Because we all went into this and we said on the show, and Lord knows Al spoke out about it, and I don't remember what Aaron's opinions were going into WrestleMania. We went into it thinking it was going to be a really shitty WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh god, this one's not going to be that good. And we walked out of there, holy shit, that was the greatest WrestleMania of all time, maybe second to 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the build for all the matches weren't great. I mean, you had Bray kind of carrying his own feud with The Undertaker, kind of doing his own thing each week, where The Undertaker wasn't even seen on TV. You had, Roman and Lesnar just kind of doing a lot of interview segments and contract signing segments. And then you had Sting and Hunter doing a lot of the same thing, where they got physical a couple of times, but it was a lot of the same. So it was a lot of just kind of waiting for WrestleMania, and there wasn't really much must see stuff going into the show on Raw and SmackDown. So I completely agree with Al that the build up to WrestleMania 31 was really not great, but the show ended up becoming maybe, a lot of people, like you said, one of the greatest shows in WrestleMania history. So,
absolutely.
Did the Triple H intro with the Terminator spin on it? Did it look as good in person?
I missed it.
I don't know. I don't know how it necessarily. I mean, on television, it looked a little over the top, and I guess I was around a lot of people that were just cynical about it. Like,
we got to get Joel or we got to get Matt on the show one of these days, and we'll be able to ask them. I missed it because I was in the line for concessions when I didn't realize their match was next. Probably should have waited, but
I don't want to misquote Joel, but I'm pretty sure Joel was not a fan of the entrance from Hunter. Of course I loved it. I mean, obviously. But I do get the criticism of maybe it being a little over the top. I thought it was a little too long. But I love Hunter's entrances, so I'm biased in that respect.
The funniest thing about his entrance, though, was you count it with his entrance, was the hilariously undersized logos on his tights.
Mm.
Like the knee pads, the logos were gigantic, and then on his tights, the thing's like a little tiny thing.
Yeah.
Like I saw a lot of people commenting about that, but
I don't think anything can beat Hunter's entrance at 30. I think 30 was one of his best. As over the top as that one was as well. A lot of people that were there were saying that how awesome it was, and if you go back and listen to his entrance at 30, you can hear people kind of turning and cheering for him during that entrance. You could hear a lot of people chanting for Hunter and kind of almost starting the segment, with Stephanie in the middle of the ring announcing he's going to, kind of announcing him to come out. A lot of people were booing, and then it kind of almost turns the tide because of how cool the entrance was with the lasers and the throne and all that stuff. But I don't think anything can beat that entrance there, for me at least.
And speaking of not being able to beat anything, our breakout star of the year, who was kind of an overwhelming pick again, and I'm not even going to BS going into it. It was a resounding, I believe, 7-8 people voted for him. Kevin Owens won our Breakout Star of the Year award. I mean, especially as WWE goes, I don't think there was much argument. I mean, Roman Reigns kind of broke out a little too late, really.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy, I mean, he's been dominating and he's been really holding his own. I mean, even though he's lost, he's been dominating for the most part. He dominated a good 7 months of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone would agree that Owens is probably the breakout star of the year, coming in and beating John Cena on his first night or his first match in WWE. We could all debate on how they handled him afterwards, and if they kind of dropped the ball on making him a top guy right away. But Owens has been able to kind of ride the wave and stay relevant and be in a feud with Dean Ambrose now, and Dolph Ziggler. So. I think he's definitely a breakout star. I think you have to, maybe highlight, like we said last week with Ethan Carter III, or this week, I forget when we said it. But yeah, with Ethan Carter III, definitely someone that needs to be considered. Even Jay Lethal, who is definitely in contention for the Wrestler of the Year, I think definitely deserves some kind of mention in this category as well.
Any thoughts, Marc?
Kind of really hard to see anybody other than guys like John Cena having the kind of year that they have. As far as breakout star that you were talking about, Jay Lethal had an amazing year. Ethan Carter had an incredible year. As far as standing out, Kevin Owens, really, it's incredible. A friend and I went to go see Global Wars back in, I guess it was 2014, and it was in front of an audience of 1,000 people in Ring of Honor, where he faced, I believe he had faced Adam Cole. Actually, it was 2013, where he had faced Adam Cole, and yes, he didn't win it, but to see where he was there to how he's parlayed that just a year later, or a year or so later, it's pretty amazing. So, the guy from Quebec turned his career into something even more. He's really well seasoned. Fans have known that he's been in PWG and Ring of Honor and really earned his stripes. So we say breakout, but it's kind of 15 years in the making for this breakout star, and kudos to him.
Absolutely. And now we're getting into the cream of the crop, the meat and potatoes of these awards. We've got the final four, if you will, and in no particular order, these are the top awards. I mean, I think anybody will agree. And I'm going to go with Tag Team of the Year. I don't think, especially in WWE, aside from the Dudleys, although this one wasn't as close as I thought it was. And definitely honorable mention. Wow, I can't talk. To the Young Bucks. Having a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
But just edging them out by one vote.
Really? That close?
Yes.
Oh.
Just edging them out by one vote.
Oh, Miami! Don't you dare be sour!
The New Day wins Tag Team of the Year. And as far as WWE goes, it's not close. It's not even close as far as WWE is concerned.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think they've done such a great job of coming full circle. I mean, if we remember where this team started as being these overjoyed baby faces that were virtually hated by everyone, and now becoming probably the most popular tag team on the WWE roster. I mean, these guys definitely deserve every bit of praise that they've gotten, and they've really made this gimmick into their own. So, congratulations to them.
Mark?
It's incredible. I sit here thinking Kofi Kingston has a lot of personality. You give him a chance.
Yeah.
Because that was never the guy that I thought could do the things that he does and be as over the top as he is. Let alone Big E. You always kind of thought there was something about Xavier, I guess, during his time with R-Truth, and you heard little nuances about his character and what he could do. You put the three of them together, they really, as you guys have said, they're a completely different level. Where these are the kind of guys as a tag team that are so over, they could be a main event. You wouldn't necessarily need to lean on your heavyweight title. They're the guys that could close a show. They start a show. They manage to be in the middle of the show, and they close it. If there's a fear in 2016, it's that overexposure, and I think we probably talked about it too with them. So being popular is great, and having the year they have, they can't argue it. Just maybe they need to be used in moderation just for their own benefit so they have longevity. And that's what we kind of hope for 2016 for the New Day.
Yeah, and really quickly, just a couple of honorable mentions that I just wanted to throw out there. I think Red Dragon definitely deserves to be mentioned here. A newer tag team, Matt Sydal and Ricochet, who have been tearing it up in New Japan and in ROH and all over the world. They've been fantastic. Even if you want to go back earlier this year, you can talk about Kid and Cesaro. They were on a hot streak, and unfortunately, they both got hurt. But yeah, I have no arguments. The New Day definitely deserve this award.
The Wolves, I guess, in TNA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't have as much exposure to them, but both Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards putting on a classic. I mean, it's incredible. These guys were in NXT for I couldn't believe it for just a split second, and as talented as they are in TNA and having a great year too in championships. So there's a lot of great talent out there. It's just a matter of having the tag team division really focused. Ring of Honor, like you mentioned, has a lot of prominent teams, a lot of teams that are out there fighting, along with what just recently happened in Final Battle. I won't spill the beans on anything if anybody hasn't seen it, but if you're really pleased between the teams out there. Yeah.
Now, from one that was close to one that wasn't even close. It was, I believe, 10-1.
Really.
Diva of the Year.
Hmm.
Asuka got 1 vote. And Sasha Banks is the winner of Diva of the Year.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
Well, I was in the Sasha landslide, I guess. Well, I'm surprised that I wasn't as aware of Kana or Asuka's work outside. I know she's popular in Japan and she wrestles a lot there. So I don't know what else she did throughout the year that would lead her into female of the year. That's what I'm not so sure of. So if you look at it, the complete body of work, and I thought but how everybody sees it is different. But when it came to Sasha, it's kind of hard to argue with it. She was almost a backup character when it came to her and Charlotte as part of the BFFs, and turn that into something so much bigger. And good for her. And right now in Team Best, Channing Quad Sasha, she really doesn't need anybody else, and yet she's with them to try and be part of the team. She stands alone. She stands strong, and kudos to her for the year that she's had. Her matches with Bayley, and kind of takeover in Brooklyn, really was something else. Forward to 2016 for it. It's only a matter of time before they put her in a position where she's holding the title.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I think if you look at the body of work this year, I think Sasha Banks runs away with it as the female wrestler of the year. Of course, you can mention Bayley being right up there with her, Charlotte being right up there with her. If you look on the independent circuit, Santana Garrett, definitely someone that needs to be mentioned in this category, holding so many indie titles right now. Like Mark said, I mean, if you look at body of work this year, Sasha definitely runs away with it, becoming this character and really being able to really lead the women's charge for better wrestling. I mean, she's definitely deserving of this title.
And from being deserving of one title to being deserving of another title. Another very close one, but it edged it out at the last second. I had to get clarification on one ballot. Match of the year goes to piggyback off of the last one, Sasha Banks versus Bayley at NXT Brooklyn, just edging out their match at Respect.
Really?
It's incredible to think that, we've gotten to the point in 2015 where, and this may sound harsh, but a women's match, winning match of the year. I think a lot of ballots, whoever's doing awards, every website, every even WWE, everyone that's doing an award show, I think this match will win that award. I mean, this match from top to bottom, when you talk about not even just a great females match or a great women's match, just a great wrestling match. It had everything you'd want, great psychology, great in-ring work. The story was there. Bayley kind of scratching and clawing for years and years to get the NXT Women's Championship, finally beats someone in Sasha Banks who is the epitome of a champion. I think this match had every element of what a great match is in 2015. I, of course, voted for Nakamura and Ibushi from Wrestle Kingdom 9. I'm just going to keep sitting here and beating my drum of Wrestle Kingdom 9 and how great a show that was. But I can't take anything away from Bayley and Sasha in Brooklyn.
Yeah, actually, to correct myself before I let Mark talk. Sorry, Mark, didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. The Bayley Sasha match was great. I don't want to seem to be one that was harsh. I didn't necessarily vote for it. It really wasn't the one that stuck out. Elimination Chamber, John Cena, Kevin Owens. That first match really pushed both of them. You saw things from both guys that you never would have seen normally. So I think that was the match that really stood out to me. Just kind of waiting for the next. What's the next thing that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was Kevin Owens' win, everything that went into that match, the selling of everything, the moves that were hit, people were able to see different things from Kevin Owens that they hadn't seen while it was in NXT. And they saw different things from John Cena that they hadn't seen earlier on in the year. So as you put those two elements together, it made for a really entertaining match. And the Elimination Chamber was just focused on as being WWE Network only. So I'm not sure if that really falls under a pay-per-view, but it is on the network. It was pretty special.
Absolutely. And to go, before we get ready to wrap up here, guys, our last award, someone who is very special and has a very bright future ahead of him. This was a close one with a lot of different picks, from Nakamura to John Cena. But the majority pick for Star of the Year, Male Wrestler of the Year, Superstar of the Year, just edging it out. It was like a vote of like 5 to 2 to 2 to 1. Like it was a very, pretty wide range of guys. But I think I've skirted around or skated around it long enough. Winning his second award of the night, Seth Rollins, our Male Wrestler of the Year, Superstar of the Year, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. I mean, for the PWP thing we're doing a similar thing. We're doing year-end awards, and he ran away with it on Twitter and on Facebook. I mean, he pretty much destroyed the field, and a lot of people believe that Rollins is the man of the year. He is the top guy in the business right now as far as overall performance is concerned. I voted for John Cena. I know that might be unpopular, but I felt like he had a great year this year. I think as far as him taking a back seat and taking a hold of that United States Championship, going out there week after week on Raw and putting together great matches with guys like Dean Ambrose and Cesaro and Neville and Stardust and all these great talents that usually wouldn't get that time on a main show like Raw. I think John definitely deserves some praise here. I knew he wasn't going to win this award, but I just wanted to throw his name in there because I think a lot of people will overlook his contributions to WWE this year as being probably one of the best things about the show. But Seth Rollins definitely someone that deserves this award as well.
Mark, any thoughts?
I'm just trying to recover from the message right now. Again, seeing Seth Rollins, seeing John Cena really flip a coin because the two sides of the same coin, and having a great year. And what does that say about the company where two guys that aren't even there right now had the best year of anybody that's there?
Yep.
So it says a lot about what they did while they were there. And even though their years were shortened, whether by leave or by injury, stood out. They were focus points. They conveyed their message. They conveyed their character, and fans bought into it. And whether it was a match between actually the both of them at SummerSlam or on their own to get to the point where they are, again, Seth Rollins, John Cena, neither one really loses if one's first, one's second.
Absolutely. And, all in all, it was a good year wrestling. Ups and downs as everything goes, but looking forward to seeing an upswing in 2016. 2015 was kind of the foundation being built, and now we get to see the house come up in 2016, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And guys, I want to give you guys each a couple minutes here. Say whatever you want to say about the year that was, about the work that you guys do on the side, besides Main Event Madness, whatever you want. Mark, go ahead first, and then Eron, just speak your mind. Go ahead.
As far as looking forward to 2016, it's been a great start. John, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come out, be able to build the show and get it going. I apologize. I know the plans were for us to have the show earlier than possible, but you're really accommodating, and I want to thank you for that. And to our new co-host, Eron, I'm excited about what the coming year brings, too. I'm looking forward to that. As far as things that I'm do on the side, those may or may not be aware. I do have a tendency to write. Sometimes I write a lot. Sometimes it makes sense. And what I have been writing are a lot of lists for richest.com. I'm also with tgrwrestling.net, as well as with recently joined the Sportster. you can check out my work on theriches.com. I just posted something, and I will post frequently on our Main Event Madness page, something that I've written. Get a chance to read it. Let me know what you think. Agree, disagree. Again, like everything else, it's subjective. If you have ideas, please feel free to throw them my way. You can hit me up on Twitter at the Marc Madison. Any ideas for lists for things? There are a bunch of things that I'm looking at. Families that were promoted as being related but weren't really related, who stands out. You can look out for wrestlers that have had a terrible year, those that have had an exceptional year. I'll also give you some best and worst of Ring of Honor's Final Battle 2015. I'm excited about the coming year, and pass it over to Eron.
Well, I'll first speak as a PWP Nation ambassador. You can go to pwpnation.com right now. Great articles and content up there right now. We have a bunch of things planned for 2016, including a partnership with Main Event Madness. Obviously, I'm just thrilled to be a part of this show. Obviously, with Marc and John. And for 2016, pwpnation.com will be adding a mixed martial arts, UFC, Bellator section where we'll be covering MMA as well. That's such a huge market, so we felt like we needed to accommodate that audience, and of course with the influx of popularity with people like Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor, we thought maybe that's something that we needed to do. Also, to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, you can head over to facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Powerhouse, and on Twitter at PWP As far as I'm concerned, you can follow me at Eron_PWP. We'll also be doing. I'll also be writing some stuff for the website, of course, pwpnation.com. I'm writing currently a piece on Baron Corbin and how I've come full circle on accepting him as a top guy in NXT. Obviously, I was very harsh on the guy earlier this year. Now I've kind of come full circle, and he's become one of my favorite parts about NXT each week. So I'll be writing a piece on that. I'm also writing a piece on 10 things that need to happen in WWE in 2016. So I'll be on the lookout for that as well. And that's about it. I mean, happy holidays to everyone, and like once again, John, thanks for letting me be a part of this show.
Not a problem, guys. I'm happy that you guys both are excited for the future and both are happy to be on here. You know, as I've been saying it and I've been beating it, it's blue in the face. A lot of ups, a lot of downs this year, but you know what? I'm excited and I'm more motivated than I've been in quite some time, and I want Main Event Madness possibly one day to be the top wrestling podcast out there, but if nothing else, it gives me a chance to shoot the breeze with a couple of friends and just get my opinions out there and just be able to hang out with a couple guys and talk about wrestling and talk about whatever, and, you know, share these moments with all of you and with you guys as we live day by day in this world of pro wrestling. And, you know, 250 almost 1,000 strong listens. I can't put into words how much that means, considering I was happy when I hit 100 for the first time. And, you know, it's been a crazy year with a lot of interviews, and, you know, I just had them up here. But, you know, from Gunner, Brodus Clay, Jeff Jarrett, Scott Fishman, CJ Parker, Chris Mordetsky, Lance Hoyt, Doc Gallows, Sanjay Dutt, Bruce Hart. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your schedules to chat with me, chat with us here at Main Event Madness, and, you know, let us get to know you guys a little bit better. And I'm excited for the future and to who else we may have down the line. And I employ, well, I don't know if that's the best way to word it. I hope each and every one of you stick with us through 2016, because big things will come. You know, I said it last week, or it might have been earlier this week. I don't know. With a group of guys like us three here, and with PWP Nation, and with our extended group of colleagues here, Main Event Madness, only good things can come from this many people motivated for success. And look forward to nothing but having fun and excitement in 2016. And guys, I look forward to having it all here with you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Rob Kelm-Lestro and Jim Key also with Smash Wrestling interviews. I apologize, I left them out before. And thank you to Evan Ginsberg sharing Ginsberg's Gab with us each and every week. Wayne Daly for having the show on wrestling-news.net streaming live every week, and to Jay and Eron of Pro Wrestling Powerhouse, PWP Nation, for allowing us to come on board, and excited for big things to come in 2016, guys. Any final thoughts?
As far as wrestling is concerned, 2016 should be a good year. Interested to see how Roman Reigns develops as a top guy in WWE. Interested to see how that affects John Cena and how he's booked. Interested to see how Lucha Underground and Ring of Honor and TNA, and if they can grow and become get a larger audience. How New Japan, obviously translate to the U.S. market. I think 2016 is going to be a great year for wrestling, and I'm excited about it.
All right. Mark, anything, or are you good to go?
No, pretty much mirroring what Eron had said. Just kind of curious as to who's going to be the next star that maybe stands out. Who's going to have the great year? Who's going to be the one that's utilized or connects with the fans that nobody necessarily saw? I'm really excited about Sami Zayn's future and how he maybe starts off back with NXT and how he turns that into. I'm still looking forward for that run with him and Kevin Owens and having something special there. Again, with all the other promotions that are mentioned, I'm curious about GFW and what they're going to move on and do, along with New Japan, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, and seeing how TNA hopefully can try and build up and create more of a following too, something a little more substantial for all the different promotions. Wrestling looks very promising in 2016.
Absolutely. And guys, do me a favor, if you guys have the time, follow me on Twitter at John MEM Radio. It's the official Twitter account of Main Event Madness. And give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/Main Event Madness, and MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. It's our website. I got to get some updating on that on the next coming days and weeks ahead. And I will. And possibly down the road, maybe MainEventMadness.com coming back. I don't know yet. Couple questions with that, but time will tell. But guys, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, the likes. And we will see you in 2016, guys. It's been an amazing year, and I'm looking forward to 2016. Like I said, follow me on Twitter at John MEM Radio. Follow Eron at Eron_PWP, PWP at PWP Nation, and at the Marc Madison at WN_net for wrestling-news.net and Wayne Daly. And LegendsTVNYC.com. Legends TV airs Saturdays, 11 a.m. Eastern. MadhouseTV.com, and like I said, LegendsTVNYC.com. One of the best online shows out there, and you guys are going to be doing yourself a great justice spending an hour and a half with Evan and either Steve Ludwig or John Winnell, his two co-hosts that he has in with him. And that's it, guys. Be happy, be safe out there. Enjoy the New Year's, enjoy the holidays, guys, and we will see you, Lord willing, in 2016, guys. And that's it. Till next year, guys. Have a good one. All right, guys, we're here with yet another very well-traveled star of pro wrestling, Global Force Wrestling star, Chris the Adonis Mordetsky. Chris, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us for a little bit and just answer some questions.
Definitely happy to be on, man. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. And I'm excited. I'm excited for Global Force Wrestling. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do, or what kind of almost without trying to make the cliche, what kind of magic you guys are going to be able to produce. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh yeah, me too. I think it's a well-constructed roster with Jeff Jarrett, obviously, him being the brains behind the operation and him having a track record in doing this. And, just through my experience through Rinky King, I mean, I know everything, professionalism will be at an all-time high, and we just got, such a good crew of workers, man. I mean, I think we can definitely put on an entertaining product and definitely compete with, anything out there pretty much.
Yeah. So let's just dive into this, man. So you got into wrestling. Actually, before I even get into that, what got you into wrestling? Were you a fan of it as a kid, or?
Oh yeah, man. I just loved it since I was a kid, and it just one day it just dawned on me basically what was I going to do with my life, and my initial thought was obviously to follow my passion, and I loved wrestling, and it was just like I was obsessed with it. So I just really kind of figured one day as like that that was what I wanted to do with myself, and started taking the necessary steps in order to make that dream a reality.
Yeah, and I mean that was quite an impactful decision you made, because you, if I got this right, you began wrestling at the ripe age of 16.
Yeah, I did. I mean, that was a short little stint. I got hurt so quick. I got, within 2 months, I fractured my ankle and had to have it scoped. So, basically after that, I took a couple of years off and got my body in good shape and came back at 19. And then, the rest is history. Pretty much everything started right there.
But for the couple of months before you got injured, what was it like wrestling as a young teenager? I mean, were you allowed freely to compete, or did you have to get like a parental permission, or how did that work?
Yeah, I had to get the permission and all that, but I'd just say, I wasn't prepared. I mean, I was only 16. I wasn't in any kind of really great physical shape to be doing it either. So, I mean, I just realized when I got there that, between that and the injury, that maybe I was, I was being a little too ambitious, a little too early, and that it would be better suited if I had taken a couple years and focused on a couple other aspects of things and then came back to it. So that's what I had to pay for at the time, too. So, I mean, I don't really want to be spending money at that age, unless I really thought it was realistic. And, it really wasn't. I was 16, but I did start the same day as John Cena, ironically. And so, just through being around those guys, I kind of got a good indication at that point of what they were looking for. And, John Cena ended up going on and making it. And then, I came back to the UPW a couple of years later and was just a few years behind him.
Yeah, and actually, it's ironic you mentioned Cena. I didn't know that you started around the same time, or actually, you even said the same day as Cena. I didn't even know that. But speaking of Cena, you joined OVW, like you had just mentioned, in 2002, or 2000, I believe, the 2000, 2001, would that be right about timeline there?
What was that?
Oh, you joined OVW, I'm sorry, I got confused, in about 2002 or 2003, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I was, I'm trying to do the timeline. I believe it was right around there. I know that I was 19 when I was signed.
Mm-hmm.
I debuted in 2005, so maybe it was 2000. Yeah, it's 2002 or 2003, somewhere around there.
Now, did you feel any pressure at all, trying to live up to that infamous class of 2002? Like you had mentioned, John Cena and Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton. Or were you just more worried about being yourself and just doing your own thing and just trying to make it and be Chris Bordetsky or whatever character that you were trying to go with at the time?
I never looked at it like I was representing a class or anything like that, or like that I had to live up to any kind of expectations. I just kind of, the whole thing was more kind of overwhelming because not so much of the OPW guys, but most of the guys who were there from the generation before me. I mean, this is going back before OPW, so it was more about just learning obviously the etiquette of professional wrestling, and everything that goes along with that, and being able to obviously coexist, or not necessarily coexist, but just share a locker room amongst guys that you had grown up basically watching as a kid and, looking up to, So, I mean, that was more the overwhelming thing that stood out to me. Nothing, in terms of anybody who came out of OBW, I mean, that was the least of my concern.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that your debut was in 2005, so you're on the main roster and you begin the Master Lock Challenge. And I read yesterday, which I didn't actually start watching wrestling again until 2006. So it was a little after you had kind of established yourself on the main roster. But I read that you had more submission victories after your debut than Kurt Angle did. Was that kind of an exciting accolade for you?
I didn't even know that until you said it. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool if it's true. I mean, it's the first time hearing of that.
But what was that experience like with the whole Master Lock Challenge? And were you seemingly overwhelmed, or not seemingly, you overwhelmingly dominated basically everybody for about 2 years. Was it a plan to go as long as it did, or did you want it to go on longer and maybe possibly translate it towards a main event gimmick?
Well, I think that was the idea behind it, actually, and excuse me, I'm sorry. I think it had a good run and everything, and it's still. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's a very basic kind of hold, but they put it on TV. Maybe not that year you were watching, but they really pumped it the year before and established it real well. So it gets reaction still to this day, even. So I mean. I don't think I would want to continue to do the Master Lock Challenge. Do I want to change my finisher? Not necessarily at this point, obviously, because people identify with that still. I mean, they remember it. So, I've expanded my offense and other aspects of my game, but, the Master Lock Full Nelson is pretty much kind of, at least for now, here to stay, I think they really did a good job of, building it and making it matter and making it mean something. And, even when Bobby broke it, it was, even though Bobby did break it and it did remain unbreakable, it's still, like I said, I mean, it still has credibility. So,
for sure.
Happy. I'm happy with what it's done for me. And people love pictures in it.
And, I had started watching, like I had said, in 06. It was around the fall of 06, and I learned quickly, because you had done some Master Lock challenges then, and I believe you even did one on Cena. And I learned quickly, as soon as you latched in the Master Lock, I'm like, man, this guy, if you want to beat him before you get the Master Lock in, because once he gets it, you're done. And
well, I mean, that was pretty legit. I mean, if you torque a guy's head forward, I mean, they'll turn purple. I mean, you can have, even Shelton Benjamin basically went out to that one time. I always give him a hard time about it, but he was out cold. And coincidentally, I'm wrestling him for Global Force later on in the month, so that kind of feeds right into that whole match, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, it's a legit hold. I mean, I even used it as a bouncer, but more as a restraint hold before I got into wrestling. Trying to encourage you not to strike people, right? So I used to use that hold just to restrain people a lot of times and pull them out of clubs and whatnot.
And so in the 2006, which I apologize for that, I keep bringing this year up, you were pursuing the WWE Championship and then WWE Champion John Cena. Back then, I honestly feel like you had some of the most momentum of your entire WWE run. With no disrespect to any other part of it. Were there ever any times
it's just facts. I mean, what you're stating is facts. Yeah, the machine behind me.
Were there ever any times that you almost, or whether either you thought it or were told that you were possibly going to win the belt?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. All that kind of stuff is always up in the works, possibly, maybe. I mean, But like one thing with the wrestling business that I've definitely learned is you never. I guess it's like the saying, you don't count your chickens before they hatch, kind of deal. Really, no matter what somebody tells you, until it actually happens, that you can't. You have to take it with a grain of salt because that's just the way it is. Because I mean, there were outside of just the world title. I mean, there were other opportunities that I had for various championships that, for one reason or another, being that stuff that was out of my control, and then some of it being in my control that I didn't. So it's kind of one of those things. I mean, it was. Those kind of things were talked about many times. I was supposed to win the tire belts with Carlito at one point. I was supposed to win the Intercontinental title at one point. I was possibly in line for at least a run at the title. So I mean, that's just what it is. It is what it is. I mean, and maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but I mean, there were many other things that I was up for too. So.
Speaking of the before mentioned Carlito, you began a tag team with him and then a rivalry, which I actually thought was very, very good at during the time. What was he like to work with, and what was the transition like for you going from a singles wrestler to a tag team wrestler?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
I was saying you began the tag team and then it transitioned into a rivalry with Carlito, which I actually thought was pretty good for the time period. What was Carlito like to work with, and for you, what was the transition like going from a singles wrestler to a tag team wrestler?
Well, you got to understand that, right? And now at this point, coincidentally, I was just playing Carlito on PlayStation 4 right before I made this phone call. I mean, he's one of my closest buddies, and I probably wrestled him, not even just in WWE, outside of WWE. We joke around about it a lot, but we've actually probably wrestled maybe, I can't put a number on it, but it seems like about 1,000 times. So, but particularly at that point, it was fun working with Carlito as a tag team because we were kind of, he was a good tool for me, and we worked well together because we were able to play off of each other, and therefore I was able to bring out my personality, and it was also able to set up, some pretty funny television and just entertaining, segments between Carlito and myself. So, working, we always, whenever we talk about it, we always look back at that, and we obviously feel like they actually should have left us together longer than they did, rather than turn us, because Carly didn't want to be a baby face anyway. And that's what actually led to us not winning the belts, was, a change in plans like that. And Carly ended up turning face, and we ended up wrestling each other, and, he didn't want to do that. And, we recognized it at the time, but more so looking back now, I mean, you can look back at a lot of things, and, one of the things I can definitely say is that, they should have probably let Carlito and me, have a little bit more of a run, for numerous reasons, just for the sake of, he didn't want to be a face, and he fought at every chance he could get anyway. And, we were working good together, you know what I mean? Like, we could have, just still teamed together or whatever, at least for, at least got a few more months out of it,
Yeah, I mean, me personally, looking back at that, I feel like that you and Carlito would have been more of an entertaining tag team champion than what the Spirit Squad ended up turning into, which was nothing more really than turning the tag team champions into glorified jobbers, especially having them lose for 6 months to DX.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's what happened. I don't want to, blatantly put it out there, but if you look at the events that happened in the WrestleMania that we were involved in, and the Spirit Squad and the whole timeline there, that's basically why we didn't get our run.
A decent match at WrestleMania at that.
WrestleMania.
I said in a decent match at WrestleMania with Kane and Big Show at that you guys had.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, that was supposed to go another way, but then the plans changed, and things. Carlito went off singles, and then we ended up wrestling each other. So, you know, it wasn't exactly how I would have liked for things to go. And, you know, we were always trying to search for another opportunity to do something together again. But, you know, by the time I came back to the company, you know, at that point, you know, Carlito was having his issues with the company, and I was just coming back. So, I mean, you know, they weren't really invested in us at that point.
Yeah, and you mentioned when you came back, so let's talk about that for a minute. You came back in 2009, and I was a little bit excited because, you know, your character that you played in WWE was a little bit different than what we had. Because, I mean, if you look at the guys that were around back then, it was Dolph Ziggler, Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase, a lot of guys that kind of looked the same, and their characters were all the same. And then there was you, who had the physique, and then you came in there and you beat their ass, and, you know. But, shortly thereafter, you were given a peck dancing gimmick. Did you enjoy playing somewhat of a comedic character, or was that gimmick your idea, or?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, what it is, they wrote, you know, we did the Crazy Train thing, right?
Yeah.
And really what it comes down to is I just probably did that much too well for that segment because, you know, they got a huge pop and then all of a sudden their eyes got big and then they thought it would be clever to do it any chance we could get. And I didn't think it was, I mean, I thought it was funny for Crazy Train. And then it was maybe funny the one other time with Jericho, but, like, you know, I would have really preferred not to have that spot of just, okay, let's just use him to do that. Because, I mean, that was ridiculous, you know. And as a wrestling fan, I like to think that I'm at least somewhat still in touch with the wrestling fan in me. And the wrestling fan in me was telling me that, like, this is not something that I would want to see on the regular, you know. It's like I would have loved the Crazy Train one. I loved the one with Jericho, but, you know, leave it at that and let that evolve into something else, you know, whether that be just, you know, me, like, letting my own personality get out rather than just singular, just like, you know, narrowing in on one aspect. It's like, okay, well, never we're talking about the peck dance. It's more about the fact that I'm not, you know, that I don't take myself necessarily too seriously and I can be goofy sometimes and that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But, you know, narrow-minded thinking, I guess, just gets you into thinking, like, oh, well, that was great, so let's do it a fucking million times. Excuse my language.
That's all. No, the language is fine. Yeah, around 2009, 2010, I mean, to me, and I can speak for a few people, at least that I'm friends with and that I know, it wasn't exactly the best time creatively for WWE. You know, they went through a lot of questionable creative decisions.
I mean, dude, I can tell you right now, I mean, the show, literally, TV would be rewritten 4 times an afternoon. I mean, like, there'd be a card up, and there'd be some kind of structure, and then 2 hours later it'd change, and then an hour before the show it'd change again. I mean, just stressful and chaotic.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. That was a lot of. I know a lot of people started tuning out around then, and, you know, you had the almost rapid fire of departures after that. You left not too long after that. Shawn Michaels left, Batista left, Jericho left, Edge left, and all of a sudden you're stuck with this almost stagnant direction that WWE was in, and nobody there. And it's a lot of them were either, and a lot of, I mean, me speaking as a fan, it was, I mean, I loved watching wrestling. That's why I watched it. I didn't necessarily enjoy some of it. And it was kind of annoying to see a guy, and I'm not trying to, you know, brown nose to you or try to suck up to you or blow smoke or anything like that. But it was annoying seeing a guy like you who is very talented in the ring, and they saddle you with that kind of gimmick. I mean, it was kind of annoying that, you know, it seemed like, you know, a lot of...
I would only agree with you from 2011 on. I became a good worker, man. Like, that's when things clicked for me. I mean, I really, after I knew that they weren't going to push me, or that I didn't have the machine behind me, I knew that, or at least in my mind, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make them I'm going to make it so they can't deny me, and I'm going to work. If nothing else, I'm going to become the best. I'm going to silence the critics. I'm going to become the best in-ring worker that I possibly can. I'm going to, I'm going to watch my match back every week meticulously and pinpoint every little thing I liked and didn't like, without it being obsessive, but being constructive, you know what I mean? And I just really, from 2011 on, I mean, I was stuck on superstars, but I was having some of the best matches of my life because I had, 10, sometimes 15, sometimes 17-minute matches with 2 segments. And, I mean, I was getting endorsement from Hunter himself and the top guys at the company and getting told I was going to get a push and all this other stuff. But, it didn't come to be in the end, obviously. And, I don't know why necessarily. I can't necessarily speak to that. Maybe it wasn't the right time, or just maybe it's better to disappear sometimes. But one door closes, another one opens, and I'm happy to be a part of something like Global Force Wrestling that can be an alternative and that can be new and can hopefully, or I'm quite sure have a better at least environment to come to than at least WWE has turned into towards the later years. They just they don't appreciate the workers anymore, man.
Which is
there's no WCW anymore, so their mentality is it's not we're happy to have you. It's you're lucky to be here.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say you weren't a good worker, because I feel you were. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I've always liked submissions, and when I started watching wrestling again, I gravitated towards heels. So you're a submission specialist and you're a heel.
In my first few years, I could have a good match with somebody who was talent better than me, or that was better than me, or. But in terms of having a match with somebody of my talent or lesser than, it was much tougher, or I just wasn't consistent. Maybe I mean, like I had my good outings, yes, but I'm much more today. I'm much more the complete performer. I can go. I've been in every messed up situation you could possibly imagine. I've been in there with the best. I've been in there with the worst. I've seen it all, man. You know what I mean? So now it's gotten to the point where. The excitement outweighs the nerves, and the ring is actually probably the most comfortable place to me than that I can think of. And that's a beautiful place to be, though. It's great, because I mean, it's always been fun to do, but it's no more fun than when you have that kind of confidence in yourself.
Mm-hmm. I got to ask you though. And you left WWE the second time, like we had mentioned, in 2011. There's a couple things I want to hit on here really quick, and then we can move on from WWE, or your time in WWE. First off, did you feel any sort of way when CM Punk mentioned you in his little storyline with Vince McMahon in 2011? Or were you happy that he kind of threw his bad judgment, I guess you could say, in the talents that he got rid of, you being one of them, basically in his face?
Yeah. Well, I kind of have split feelings on that, because part of me knows that was a scripted part of the segment. So on that part, not so much, but. In terms of what CM Punk actually said, is I know he meant, because he had conveyed that to me. CM Punk was one of my supporters up there for the last year and a half, 2 years that I was there, because he saw the work I was putting in and the strides I was making. So he acknowledged it to me on several occasions without me, coming up to him or anything. And that's why I always, when people ask about him, first of all, I'm a fan of his work. I honestly am. I enjoy him as a performer. But at the same time, he was good to me, because, that was one thing that meant a lot at that point, because I did work my ass off. And, to to get endorsements from guys like Punk and Arn Anderson and Hunter himself, where, you know, there's some validation in that, obviously, because, you know, if they didn't acknowledge it and you're working your ass off, I mean, you know, it's just human nature, right?
For sure. And secondly, there's a lot of former talents that, you know, have gone back to WWE. You know, Rhino, Road Dogg went back a few years ago. Even Billy Gunn after they had left TNA. And you know, there's a few others. I'm having a brain fart here, but basically, I was just going to ask you: would you ever consider, if they ever offered it to you, going to WWE to work in NXT, whether it's as a trainer or doing kind of the run that Rhino's doing down there right now, kind of basically as a... and I don't want to insult him by saying he, you know, glorified enhancement, but that's kind of what he is, because he really hasn't gone over. But
I mean, he's what you call a what is it?
He's husband.
He's not just a wrestler. You know, I mean, you see what's going on.
It's almost like a player coach kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly the word I was thinking of. Exactly, player coach. You know what I mean? He's working with the young guys. So, I mean, like, you know, let's not look into it more than what it is. I mean, and if you're asking if I would take that role, I don't know. You know, I can't really speak to that. I mean, I would definitely I mean, I'd never say never to anything, and that includes NXT. I don't know if I would want a regular gig on there, but you know, I mean, it's hard for me to speak on that just because of the sake that right now we're on the verge of global force wrestling trying to take off and everything. So I mean, that's really where my attention is. But one thing I'll say. Again, one of the things I've learned in my years in the business is that you can never say never to really anything. So, you know, never say never. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you know, some of these are boring answers, but I mean, it's the truth. I mean, if there's anything I can tell you that I've learned is you take everything with a grain of salt and never say never. And, you know, I can... If we had the time, I could supply the evidence to back both of those statements up probably all day.
I wouldn't say boring answers. I could speak for Wayne also. We both appreciate the honesty more than, you know, the flashy answers. And like I said, I wouldn't say boring answers, you know. But let's move on here, man. In 2011, you joined TNA's Rinka King project that you had mentioned before in India. Can you tell us about that experience, and what was it like working for both a new company, because you hadn't been to TNA to that point, and working in a country that doesn't necessarily get wrestling events even remotely close to as many times as they probably should?
Well, one thing I took from that was it was just such a well-run operation. I mean, we had really, the situation we had back against us in India was crazy. I mean, we were basically all the Indian guys that were casted for Rinka King had no real or not much real wrestling experience. You know, they'd been put through a crash course. So, you know, we really had, you know, all these obstacles to face in terms of doing business with these guys and all that. But, you know, everything ran so smoothly. I mean, Jeff was so professional about everything. Just the whole production of the production value of Rinka King, the way it was run, how smooth it was, the way they took care of us just in terms of, you know, even our lodging and whatnot. I mean, we had a gym right next door. It just ran smooth. And, you know, and it was my first impression of Jeff because I'd never really met him before that, I believe. So that was my first time meeting him and doing business with him. So it was a good experience overall. It was a great crew. Even on that crew, we had you know, the good brother Luke Gallows, Bullet Club on there. And, you know, whenever he's on the card, you know, it's going to be a good time.
For sure.
And, you know, a lot of other great talent, man. It was fun. It was definitely, I mean, you did definitely see that India has some, obviously some very for third world parts to it, so to speak. But where we were was pretty nice as long as you didn't leave the hotel. And there were monkeys on the highway.
To follow up on that, were you ever interested in signing with TNA following Ring Ka King, or were you happy working on the independent scene?
It was both. After Ring Ka King, I worked a dark match for them, but again, at that point, I already knew I had learned my lessons that I had just shared with you.
Right.
Grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt, and I went in there. I was just kind of like, I'll do this, but you got to consider at the time too. TNA was not letting the wrestlers work a lot of independent wrestling companies, specifically ones that recorded and sold or whatever. So a lot of guys were losing work and not necessarily making a lot of money in TNA. So to me, I was busy full time. So I went in there and I was like, I'll do this tryout. If it works out, cool. But if it doesn't, at the same time, cool, because my calendar is full and I'm confident that I can keep it full just through doing good business and, doing what I need to do in terms of staying in shape and doing good business and whatnot. So, I did the dark match. It went well, and the impression I got from everybody around was that I was going to be hired. I was told specifically by numerous people I was going to be hired. But even that didn't even sell me. What really sold me was, Hulk Hogan was there at the time, and he had told me that, you did it, but you better, like, he was like, you freaking, you made an impression out there, you're going to get a job here. But, even when Hulk said that to me, again, I'm always skeptical about this stuff, especially with pro wrestling. So it wasn't until I left the dark match that I'm friends with Nick Hogan, which is Hulk's kid, obviously. Right. So I'm driving back, and Nick calls me out of nowhere. I hadn't even talked to Nick in a couple of weeks or something, and he just started telling me, like, man, wow, what did you do over there? It's like, you really tore it up, man. Like, they're going to hire you. And so, like, when Nick called me, it was a little more convincing, obviously, because, that's not Hulk having to paint a smile on for me. That was Hulk actually legitimately calling his kid and telling him. And, not to say Hulk had anything to do with me not being hired, but, obviously. So after that, I kind of figured, okay, there's a good chance of this. We'll see what happens. Let's see what they have to offer or what the deal is. And, but, somewhere down the line, I guess somebody might either didn't see the value in me or sometimes all it takes is one person down the line of the power structure, so to speak, to, put a kibosh on something. Or, again, like I said, it could be timing, or maybe they just felt like they had somebody that kind of fit my mold that was already serving that role on the show. But, I can guarantee they weren't as hunted.
Yeah, and in your mindset, it's honestly the best way you could have looked at that. Either way, it was a win-win for you. You're either going back to another national company, or like you said, your schedule's fully booked. So, either way, you win. So.
Well, yeah, the thing is, too, is I never looked at TNA like I was going to get rich over there. So,
right.
If anything, I was like, oh, this is a good chance to at least get in front of the Americans, the domestic wrestling fans, because I was doing a lot of work in England and the UK, and I've developed quite a lot of people have been able to follow me over there. But domestically here, nobody is, they don't get to see me on Raw or anything every week, obviously. So, that's something to be obviously taken concern of, or notice of, rather. And so for me, it was obviously about relevancy, just being able to get on American TV again, which, are they even on TV anymore?
Not for long.
Are they on Destination America, or is it Ring of Honor and TNA on Well, maybe we don't even need to get into those other companies. It's all good.
I'll just say for now.
Yeah.
It's the best way to put it.
You mentioned wrestling in England as well, and like some fans might know, some fans might not know. You work for Preston Sea Wrestling in the UK. What's your thoughts on the UK independent scene, the fans, and is there someone on that side of the pond that you think could be actually the UK's next big star?
Shoot. That's a loaded question. First of all, specifically PCW, obviously, I think PCW is the best promotion I've worked for since I had left WWE. I kind of came in at a good time when it was just starting to grow, and I've really seen it blow up into just something else, man. And Stephen Flutter does a great job running it. And, there's a lot of great talent in that region. I mean, I always tell people this. I mean, guy for guy, there's more talent in the UK and Europe than there is in America. I mean, there's some good talent in America, but just the guys out there are just extremely good. And, there's a long list of guys that you could use out here, but, if I have to narrow it down to one, well, I mean, I won't narrow it down to one, but I don't want to leave anybody out because they're all so damn good. But, I mean, like Chris Travis, I always have to say because I had some of the best matches of my career with him in PCW. I mean, if you want to see some good matches, I mean, we had 3 matches that were just each one different, each one good. And Chris Travis is just kind of like he reminds me of, like, I've said this before, like a young Shawn Michaels. He can just do anything. And the guy just had to battle cancer, so, we'll find out his status soon. I think he's doing better. But, the matches that we had were just incredible. And I hope one day that we're able to definitely at least have one more. I mean, that third one was supposed to be it, but I feel like we still got one more piece of magic left in us. So it'd be nice to get in the ring with him one more time, whether it's, out here or, across the pond. But I think that covered everything. I mean, you asked me, and, just the PCW, I would specifically say, but, most of the indies I've worked for in the UK have been good, and the crowds have been good. PCW is obviously the wildest, but, they're all pretty wild, man. And, what's cool about them is they appreciate good wrestling, but, they also, I mean, depending on the crowd, but I mean, most of them appreciate good wrestling. They appreciate, or at least they're like the PCW crowd. They appreciate good wrestling. They appreciate entertainment. They appreciate, you can go out there and run some catches, catch can, and even if it's not perfect, they'll give you the standing clap just for attempting to do it, which is kind of nice because, here in the States a little more, they get a little more impatient with the wrestling. It seems like, at least through my experience, and they kind of a little more in a rush for you to get to do something.
So, my host, kind of to switch gears here a little bit, wasn't able to be with us tonight due to some prior engagements. However, he had a couple questions he wanted me to ask you before we get ready to wrap this up. It's a 2-part question. You were announced in Global Force Wrestling's first roster reveal. What's it like being a part of a new wrestling company that seemingly has all the momentum in the world and an incredible amount of fan following and intrigue already, and yet we're still over a week away from the promotion's first event?
Would you like to be part of Global Force?
To be a part of both, not just Global Force, but also the fact that it's a promotion and a company that has an incredible amount of fan following and intrigue with it already, and you guys haven't even had your first show yet.
I mean, obviously, it's exciting. I mean, when Jeff made the call to me, this was about me wanting to be. I mean, I've been very successful over the last few years in terms of wrestling, but I want to be a part of something, and a part of something specifically that can be seen obviously here in the U.S. too, because I've loved working overseas and for PCW and all that, but and again, just seeing the roster that's been put together. the person being Jeff that reached out to me about this initially. I mean, everything just feels right. And I think right now is a good time because I think hardcore wrestling fans are looking at these alternatives. You know what I mean? And I know that, like I said before, the goal isn't just to hook the hardcore wrestling fans. You want to get casual wrestling fans too. But this is a really good time to give people at least an alternative to WWE because I think a lot of fans have been not necessarily happy with the product 100% for a while, and that's why you see some of these other companies gathering some attention. I mean, people just they want an alternative. I mean, I think there's a thirst for that, and that's why I think this is good timing, good crew, and I think that we're really going to be a force. That's
see what you did there.
In terms of what we do in the next coming months, and we're going to get people talking.
And I'm excited for that first off. And second off, you kind of answered part of this question. Are you excited for GFW's tour this summer and into the future? I mean, what does GFW's future look like to you going forward? And could they possibly grab that elusive number 2 promotion spot down the line, kind of like WCW had? And is that even the goal right now, or?
Well, hey, you never want to set the bar low. I mean, I think that is always ultimately the goal. I mean, it might not be the first initial goal. It's a process. You start somewhere and you build. You build bricks. You know what I mean? You build bricks. You start. You know what I mean? With distribution, and then we continue to add dates, and you continue to refine your personnel, so to speak, in terms of who you're going to use, who's going to be available. And so, I mean, it's going to be a process, but, to say that's not the goal, I think would be selling ourselves short. I mean, like, I know, WWE seems like this big monster that nobody can overcome, but I don't think that's the case necessarily. You know what I mean? And I think that, there's going to be a point in time where somebody's going to rise to the occasion, and somebody's going to know, how to make the right decisions. And, this could very well be it.
For sure.
We don't know. This could very well be it. But, I think I echo the statement for wrestling fans, for pro wrestlers, for pretty much everybody but the top brass of New York, that we want it.
And, I mean, it's either going to be put up or shut up time at some point. I mean, whether they're going to stay going in second gear or, while somebody's cruising by them or whatever the case will be. And it's going to be exciting to see, 'cause like they always said back in the day, competition brings out the best in everybody. But one last question.
Well, you remember that point in time in wrestling, I'm sure, right? I mean, I don't think that'll ever be duplicated. At least that hasn't been duplicated up in since. And what would be better than to have not one force basically monopolizing everything. So I'm optimistic about the future and what we can do and what the fans can do. I mean, and with the access, with just even technology, with the access to all this stuff. I mean, it definitely creates a different landscape, and hopefully it puts more pressure on New York.
For sure, and only time will tell. I got one last question for you, and then if you don't mind, just do a quick name association. You just say whatever comes to your mind.
Okay, sure. Got to watch the NBA Finals, so let's do this.
All right, real quick here. If you could relive one moment from your career tomorrow, what would it be and why?
If I could relive one moment of my career tomorrow,
what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. My God. There's so many moments popping into my head. God, I'm trying to think. What's a moment that I would want to pop back up if I could relive it? I think walking out of WrestleMania again, man, to feel that high again, it's just, it's incredible, man. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it, man. I don't even know if I need to wrestle a match, but just to make that entrance at WrestleMania again.
Awesome stuff. All right, man. Just got a few names here. Just say whatever the first thing that comes to your mind. Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right. First up, we got UPW.
One word association. How does this work?
However you want to do it.
UPW. Great place to get started.
Matt Morgan.
Matt Morgan. The big intellectual.
John Cena.
Freaking mutant in the gym and complete and total alpha male.
CM Punk.
CM Punk. Let's see. Outspoken and moody.
Rob Van Dam.
My homie, my laid back, my yin to my yang, my RVD. That's my boy, man. That's my homie. If you want me to sum up, that's my friend outside of wrestling, and that's my friend that happens to be a wrestler, but happens to be a regular friend.
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, great dude. Tremendous help in my early career, and just somebody I consider a good dude. In a business of very few.
Randy Orton.
Oh man, just crazy wildness of. I traveled with him, and so when I think of Randy, I just think of just crazy randomness and almost unsettling, crazy randomness all the time.
This one should be interesting. Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne. I love his dude. I just find him funny. Just hearing him talk, he's just funny. I mean, I was really at school and everything. I mean, I don't necessarily, I haven't bought any Ozzy Osbourne songs or albums or anything like that. I'm not a huge Ozzy guy, but, he's hilarious as hell. But, he's really got that whole British thing going, which, it's become quite funny to me. Their little lingo, they're taking the piss out of each other, and I fancy this, and fit that, and they have all these little terms that are just funny, but the way he delivers it, obviously.
All right, just a couple left here. We got Carlito.
Carlito, my other homie, my boy, like him and RVD. Those are my dudes.
Vince McMahon.
Ooh, supreme alpha male cutthroat businessman all the way, man. I mean, just my take from it. Not that I was ever super close to him, but he only relates to an alpha male personality, and he is 100% businessman. But at the same time, he's getting frail. He's getting old.
Last one here, Chris Mordetsky.
Oh man, I think when it comes to Chris Mordetsky, I think it's hard to say. I think you should come back to me at 40, and then I'll have a better evaluation of myself. We're talking about in terms of just wrestling, or what I think of myself.
In general.
In general, laid back Californian that loves passionately what he does, and but a lone wolf at the same time, man. I'm very much a loner. I love getting out on the road and getting out with the boys. But when it comes to my home life, I'm a loner, man. I like being to myself.
Nothing wrong with that, man. All right, Chris, I just want to say thank you for everybody here at Main Event Madness for you taking time out of your night and your schedule to come hang out with us. It's been an awesome interview, man. I enjoyed it. It was a blast. Just thank you.
All right. Thank you, man. It's time to watch the finals.
Yep. Is there anything you want to promote before we head out?
Of course, Global Force Wrestling. Follow at Global Force Wrestling. Excuse me. For all the latest dates and everything is posted on there. We have plenty of dates starting June 12th. And also, obviously, my Twitter being, LeBron James just took a shot. Excuse me. My Twitter, which is Chris Masters 310. You can follow me, and you can also find out about any upcoming Global Force Wrestling shows coming up, or even PCW events coming up in the future as well.
Sounds good, man. Well, enjoy the game tonight, man. Like I said, thank you again for coming on with us. We greatly appreciate it. And maybe we can have you back on again sometime. We'd love to help you promote some more shows and stuff.
Sure, man. No problem. Yeah, just hit me up. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
All right, later.